So, what's the magic that keeps us coming back here? To community, to each other, to this space on Main Street in Williamsville? It's not the coffee. I mean, I love the coffee, but it's not the coffee. It's not the flawless harmony in which we live every single moment, because we know that doesn't happen. And it's not some decree or obligation from authority outside of here, like we see in other faith traditions that tell us we have to show up. Because UUism isn't that kind of faith. It's something deeper. It's something more powerful. It's covenant. Historian Alice Blair Wesley once wrote, "The covenants we make with one another, not creeds or doctrines, are the foundation of Unitarian Universalist congregations." That is the magic of covenant. And it isn't magic. It's promises, practices, hard work, coming back, dedication, rededication to this beloved community and this amazing faith. Covenant is based on and flows from promises we make, break, deepen, develop, and renew together. It's almost like a dance. I'm going to start moving around because I'm starting to move, so I'm going to turn on this mic and turn off this mic and take this. So why am I talking about this today? Because I'm going to tell you more about it. But what we're going to open with is a mini history lesson. Woo! I'm a professor. Woo! Yay! Thank you. And then, because I promised to talk about fun things as the advertisement for the service, we're going to talk about General Assembly and my work on the Covenant team there, and the work that we just did. We just got back last night from the Central Eastern Region Summer Institute, where we updated our Summer Institute Covenant. And after those two stories, I'm going to tell you something a little more personal, and actually a deeply personal thing. And then we're going to do a musical interlude, because I'll need breath. And then we're going to spend the last part of our time with the pieces of paper and crayons that you should all have doing some beginning work on talking about our covenant. Cool? Are we cool? It's going to be fun. History. Alice Blair, thank you. Alice Blair Wesley was a Unitarian Universalist minister, historian, and theologian, best known for her works on covenantal policy and her really influential and innovative 2000 men's lecture series on the theological foundations of congregational life. So this is a whole book. You can borrow it from me. You can find most of it online. It's awesome. I bought this book just because I was doing this particular sermon, but I'd read Alice's stuff before. In these spectacular lectures, Alice traces the history of covenant in Unitarian Universalism way back to the 17th century, the Cambridge Platform, where the earliest Congregationalist churches in New England, before we had the name we have now, they formed freely gathered covenanted congregations, grounded not in creeds, but in mutual promises of how to live in faithful relationship. Yeah, back in the 17th century. These churches were radical. They didn't believe in hierarchy or doctrine. They believed that covenant was the heart of church life. So for Alice, when she was writing this a quarter of a century ago, the covenantal foundation affirmed inherent dignity and worth of each person, highlighted our interdependence, our shared responsibility to co-create what we often refer to now as beloved community. In these 2000 lectures, she called for a reclamation of this covenantal theology as core to our spiritual vitality. The future, she would say, the future of Unitarian Universalism really calls us to go back to this and really reclaim this. She wrote, "If we are to help transform the world toward justice, compassion, and peace, we must keep forming and reforming covenanted congregations whose people promise one another to seek the truth in love and to help one another live lives of integrity and service." people promising to seek the truth in love and to help one another live lives of integrity and service. So for Alice, covenant is not a historical artifact that, woo, it happened in the 17th century. She brought a lot of people, and lots of the real big covenant nerds talk at length about this. I mean, I was talking about it over beer recently with somebody, so that's just what happens. But this is like an enduring spiritual practice calling us into deeper relationship and shared purpose. And I could go on and on about history, since her writings on this topic and many other people's are extraordinary. And stay tuned, because I'm going to read her words for our benediction, but I promised you not long ago history, because I promised you something else, and now I'm going to talk about parts of my summer vacation. Maybe. I'm going to talk about 2 summer adventures. I'm going to talk about General Assembly, and I'm going to talk about Summer Institute, where a bunch of us just got back from. At General Assembly, covenant is both a guiding principle and a lived practice, and I got to be frontline witness and keeper of our faith amid challenging conversations and many, many, many moments of communal tension in this gathering of thousands of people. Of course there would be. Our UU core values of justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity, the ones we passed last year, with love at the center, explicitly affirm covenant as the foundation of our Unitarian Universalist identity. In other words, it's in our bylaws. It describes this as the promises we make, the ways we hold ourselves accountable, and the commitments that bind us, our congregations here and throughout the country and world, the commitments that bind us through our differences. Throughout my experience at GA, covenantal practice was visible in action. So let me go to a GA slide. This is me at GA. There's me in I had like a blue, I felt like all official. Look at me in the blue stole up there. So there I was in this amazing space. There were presentations, that's a picture of the main hall. There were presentations in the main hall that talked about covenant. There were sessions that talked about covenant. There were facilitated dialogues about inclusion. There was lots of talk about masking, since we were masking there. And the covenant team that I had the immense honor to co-lead had lots of talks with people in the care team's shared space, and in quiet moments, not in the shared space, but in private spaces, to help individuals be reminded of their belonging. I witnessed my volunteer members of the team. There were 10 of us on the team to serve thousands of people, including our own Reverend Michelle. And also the UUA employees. We played a critical role. We fielded in-person consultations. We received numerous emails that they call, for some reason, online tickets, with this really antiquated system that you have to go into. That's hard, but we did that because that was our part of the covenant. All week, our team worked to help attendees return to relationship when covenant had been strained or broken, and to celebrate when covenant had been upheld. Because you know what? There were a couple times that somebody didn't come in to complain about somebody breaking covenant. They came in to say, this cool thing happened, and I wanted the covenant team to know it. So it went both ways. So in my very first year as co-lead of this team, I lived a GA that gave me bodily experience demonstrating our UU commitment to covenant, and that it's not abstract. It's active and sacred practice at the heart of UU communal life, just as Alice Blair Wesley talked about in the men's lectures. So that was amazing. Talk to me about GA. Think about being a delegate sometime. It's awesome. It's awesome, awesome, awesome. And the second part of my summer vacation, I also dedicated to covenant, because, you know, that's the kind of person I am. Yesterday, my beloved children and I, and a few others from here, including Katie, left, Reverend Michelle, Les, who's up there doing tech, thank you, Les, Linda Grote, we just got home from Summer Institute. So these are a few pictures. I'm going to walk over here and point to some of the pictures in case you see them, and you can ask to see them later, or more pictures. I have so many pictures. So we meet in Oberlin, which is a 3.5-hour drive away, and this is our crew that represented our church. And I'll just give you a glimpse into what happens at this amazing week in Oberlin. Stay kind, wild, and free. There's youth and other people doing artwork on the there's lots of sessions that we do. I got to sing in the choir there. I got to sing, well, Simon, who you just saw, played cello. It's the first time we've actually co-made music together, so that was super cool. And we had an amazing, amazing Reverend Joe of TikTok fame was our theme speaker. So every morning we got to hear Reverend Joe talking about leading a life on fire. And then there's lots of other activities. And if you come up here, you can't really see it here, but right, that little dot right there, that's Linda reading her poetry aloud at the Poetry Slam. Don't think we call it a Poetry Slam there, it's something else, but it really is a Poetry Slam that we have in the evening. There's lots of fun things that happen, and you make tie-dye like this. And so I'm going to do a whole service next spring trying to tell you about how awesome it would be for you, some of you, to join us at Summer Institute next year, where is Tate sitting? I do not know where she is. There's Tate, where our very own Tate is the chair of the young adult panel. So young adults 18 to 35 can hang out with other young adults. It's so awesome. So I'll tell you that. But let's go back to what I was doing that had to do with covenant at the Central Eastern region. So our community came together to co-create a renewed covenant that reflects the enduring Unitarian Universalist values that I just talked about in the history lesson, and the evolving needs of our intergenerational, week-long, intentional community that gathers every year in July. The process of developing this renewed covenant, because it's a diverse and dispersed group of people, took a couple years to renew the covenant. We was deeply participatory and rooted in dialogue, spiritual reflection, and shared leadership. I have had the honor for the past few years of serving on the Summer Institute Committee on Ministry, and we hosted workshops, small group conversations. We had a space in the Discord channel that people who wanted to not come to a meeting but just wanted to tell us about it. And then, as is wont to do, because we're Unitarian Universalists, and I said, don't just talk to me. People came up and talked to me about what they thought. And then I said, well, you have to write that down. So then they give me a piece of paper in handwriting that I'd take back to the collective. And so these communications, from long time, people have been going Summer Institute for decades, to first-timers, reflecting on what it means to be in that particular covenantal community. And SI members told stories of older covenants, of lots of other things, of things when times went wrong and how they fixed them, or how it was hard to fix them, and what might be better, concerns, sticky note exercises. I love sticky note exercises. Deep discussions, and what we heard was a desire for belonging, a commitment for inclusion, the importance of both joy and accountability, and more. So with this, we went, and this is not something for you to read, I just want you to see that we actually developed this is the current final draft. It's going out for vote to the whole community online, because some people weren't there this summer and people believe themselves to be a Summer Institute member but don't get to come every summer, so we want everyone to be able to vote it. So it honors the long-standing traditions, but it explicitly names commitments and accountability, accessibility, respectful communication, shared justice, and other stuff in the framework of our values that I just know that you know: justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. So we worked hard on this, and we all read this draft aloud in the closing ceremony. And renewing the covenant, the process of doing that 2-year renewal, and in these meetings and in this space, embodied the very covenant that it produced. So now I'm going to go stand up here, because I might need to do this, because now I'm going to tell you a personal story. I'm going to turn off this mic. It was in 1994 that I created my first official document called a covenant. It was 2 single-spaced pages long. I had not even been an attorney for a year, so I had no idea how to write short documents, so it was 2 pages, single-spaced long. It was a covenant with the eventual father of my amazing children. For various reasons, including that marriage was not open to same-sex couples, we decided not to marry, but to enter into lots of legal powers of attorney and all sorts of other legal documents, and create a covenant. We wrote it together, we signed it, we exchanged rings to mark the occasion in 1994. A year later, we decided it would be kind of cool to formally renew it, and so renewed that covenant in writing, because we're lawyers and we signed it. He's a lawyer too, yeah, I know. And we did another one after the birth of our first child, so we renewed this. Yeah, I said former partner, so I had a covenant. And we're no longer partners, even though we signed this covenant. So that covenant failed, right? If you'd asked me that in 2010, as we were splitting up, I would have said it failed rather spectacularly. I might have even used some stronger language, because there were lawyers involved. If you'd asked me even 10 years ago, as we were still trying to figure out how to successfully co-parent while no longer a couple, like 5 years into it, it was still hard. I probably would have said, yeah, that covenant failed. Please don't leave. We had promised and signed a document about listening with love, showing up with presence, forgiving, and beginning again, and we were no longer a couple. But today, yeah, it didn't fail, because we have an evolved, unwritten, and super strong covenant to be the best possible parents of our amazing young adults, to be kind to one another, and to work for a world that is a good place for them to live in. So that point with the joyous 1994 into all the hard times, into this understood covenant to live, choosing again and again now, to love our kiddos, to be kind to one another. It's true, we're still there, differently, but we're still connected with an invisible thread. All right, so we're going to turn to our covenant here in our congregation, but first, Rick's going to play a little interlude, because I suspect that this story might have brought up some things for some of you. So let's just have some music, gather ourselves, and either process things or think about covenants and what you'd like for here. Just spend some time with yourself for 30 seconds or so. We are not bound by doctrine, but by willingness. Am I not turned on here? Yeah. Victoria Safford said, "We are not bound by doctrine, but by a willingness to walk together. We hold our covenants not as rules, but as hopes and intentions, broken and mended again and again." I would add that as we enter covenant, it's a way to allow us to return and stay connected even after our hearts have been well and truly broken, or we have well and truly broken the hearts of others. So let's return to our UU Amherst covenant. Oh, look at this. He's got me. You may know it by heart, or you may have just heard it for the first time this morning, but it's a living document. It's not been the thing we've had always. It's the thing we created 9 years ago. Do you want to read it again? Yes. Yes. Together we promise to gather in compassionate community, to celebrate diversity of thought and unity of spirit, and to seek wholeness for ourselves, our children, and our world. As Reverend Michelle has been mentioning for a while, it's time for us to look again and renew our UU Amherst Covenant because we've got new people who were not part of that process, because it's 2025 and not 2016. And so we are going to have a form of play to talk about what we as a covenantal community want our renewed living document to look like here in 2025. When you walked in, you should have gotten a piece of colored paper and a crayon. Does everyone have one? Does anyone need one? Okay, people are going to come bring you them. If you keep your hands raised because you need one, people will bring you one. What I'm going to ask you to do is to use your crayon to write a word and write it really big, because we're going to be trying to show it to people who aren't just right next to us. Write a word or two. We're Unitarian Universalists, no sentences, just a word or two about vital reasons that you have come to this community or believe we should lift up for this community. If it's your first day, you can still participate. These words might be something like compassion, trust, listening, dignity, joy, belonging, coffee, whatever you want. Find something for you and take this moment to find your own word or up to 2 words and write them now. We still writing? Whoops. All right, now, can somebody who's on the side take a picture of this? That would be awesome. Somebody who can do that. Hold up your papers and then look around and see what other people have written. And you might have to turn them around so that everyone can see them. Find a neighbor near you and maybe whisper it if they can't see other people's, or just talk about it. A few of you gently shout out your word. Oh, that's at the same time. What? Harmony. Welcome. Love. Connection. Inclusion. Belonging. Community. Meaning. Friendships. Joy. Safe space. Resilience. Like-mindedness. Look at you. Look at us. And you know what? These are not just beautiful ideas. They're invitations. They're promises waiting to be made. They're ideas. Oh, I was supposed to go to this. They're ideas because we're going to be starting our covenant renewal here. It will not take 2 years because we don't live in different states like Summer Institute. But we will be having announcements about this process in the fall. And we're going to have many ways to participate, because some people like meetings. You give me a good meeting, I'm so happy. Some people are like, I do not want to go to a meeting ever. And that's cool. We'll have other ways for you to do things. There'll be spaces that you can say. Some people like writing on sticky notes. I have so many colored sticky notes in my house because that is a cool way to do things. Some people are like, that's an assault to the environment, and why would I want to do that? And I want to type it. So we will have all the ways for you to participate in this process. So one thing about covenant you need to remember is that hopes and dreams like the one we shared here are aspirational, and that real life and community, whew, it's very, very hard sometimes. Those of you who've been here for a long time know that for me, it got so hard, I had to take a long break from this community. I was gone for over a year, and when I came back slowly, quietly, snuck out before the service ended so I didn't have to talk to anybody for a while. But you know what? I found a way to repair, I found a way to connect, I found a way to do this because living into covenant is hard work. But as one of my friends who's been active in the UU national level for years said to me when we were at Summer Institute, she said, that's how you know you're a real UU. You have your heart broken by this faith and people in this faith, and you take some time and then you come back, because that's what covenant's about. In fact, there was a time when I was doing a restorative circle at Summer Institute that I wanted to get up and drive away from Summer Institute because it was so hard, because peopling is hard, right? Even when you're in a place that's like committed to sacred commitments. But we lean in, we begin again, we connect to this invisible thread. So we are going to be asking for your ideas, and going forward for this community. Promises made to this community, to the people sitting beside you, to the people you've been with who aren't here today, to the people who are online, we love you. You're gonna have lots of chances to be there. We will have a Zoom session for sure, because I also love meetings on Zoom. I'm a meeting person, that's okay. We're good. So let's get wacky though, and we start thinking about what we're going to do, what promises we can make, living the core of our UU Amherst covenant as it is now, as it will be. Think about bringing it out to the wider world. And think about the promises that we make, and as time goes on, beginning again. Because covenant is the magic we make together. It's the invisible thread that keeps us coming back to each other, to community, and to love at the center. Blessed be.